we observed track maintenance going on in the siding at 175 on the Dayton District at New Love Road, just outside of Springfield. While checking it out, 170 comes up from the west, heading east to Columbus. 170 is a pretty good-sized manifest on this day, with two C44-9Ws. It is said by sometime in 2024 or 2025, all the Dash 9s will be turned into AC44C6Ms. Some rail fans aren't really too happy about that. Brooks siding was in talks a couple times about being extended, but those are just rumors. In this day and age of long trains and precision scheduled railroading, this siding is only good for trains that rarely get under 80 cars. We find an approach diverging aspect at milepost 185 on another day. This is telling a grain train coming off the I&O to go into the Enon siding. This NYC era signal has been here since 1925, ever since there was a junction with the P&E. Even the old code lines are still standing here from those NYC days too. The grain train is under symbol IORY01, and he'll remain that way until after the train ties down in Enon, where an I&O crew van will take the I&O crew back to Springfield or Washington Courthouse, and an NS crew will pick the train up at another date. At CP 176 at New Love Road, a high green is shown for westbound. Some farm animals graze nearby, a few goats and some miniature ponies. It doesn't take long for the westbound to show up. The westbound in question is train 179, daily Bellevue, Ohio to Irondale, Alabama manifest. Irondale is a sub-city in the area of Birmingham. On another cold morning, we see NS Train 179 again, this time at CP 162 in London. It's hard to believe what London once was back in the NYC and PRR days, and now what it is in the Dayton District days. On a sunny day at milepost 157, we see NS train 178 flying eastbound. 178 is the counterpart to 179, running from Irondale, Alabama to Bellevue, Ohio. The GP 38-2 that was trailing third was sold off to FURX and was patched in FURX lettering. Eastbound train 178 on a cold night in London rolls by the Casey's Depot and carryout next to the tracks, with two big EMD SD70 ACEs leading the way. A lone rebuilt AC-44C6M serves as 178's rear DPU. At milepost 184, Bechtel Avenue in Springfield, Ohio, we witness 170 coming into town. Of note is recently brought back into service NS SD70M-2, number 2694. (179) rolls through London, Ohio, heading westbound. Shockingly, this train on this night didn't have a mid or rear DPU. With two BNSF GEVO leaders, NS Train 239, daily intermodal between Columbus, Ohio and Sharonville, Ohio, follows on the heels of 179. with some UP, EMD, and GE power. 179 heads westbound through the dark rain at milepost 184 in Springfield. The rail fan over to the right is Raymond Castle, a longtime resident of Springfield, Ohio. 239 heads westbound through London, Ohio. The leader, an AC44C6M, oddly had a thoroughbred logo on the side. An eastbound empty grain train heads through London, Ohio, heading towards Columbus, with the NS 1067 Reading Heritage Unit leading the way. .238 rolls eastbound into London on a cold night. .238 is daily Sharonville to Columbus intermodal, and with a surprise on this night, a BNSF Executive Greenstein paint locomotive trailing second out. Not long after .238, his counterpart, .239, with a BNSF leader, just like .238 had, rolls through westbound on his way towards Sharonville. At milepost 169, Summerford Road, just outside of London, we observe NS train 803 coming down the hill out of Plattsburgh and heading east. 803 is empty coke loads from AK Steel in Middletown and heading back to a coke plant near Portsmouth, Ohio. A rare occurrence between 803 and 802 is that the foreign power leading. He normally has just NS power, but on this day he happened to have a UP rebuilt GE leader. '6471 was an AC44 CW, but now has been rebuilt to an AC 4400 CWM, and in the new flagless UP paint, with the flag now moved to the corner of the nose on the head of the locomotive.
The 172 detector, please consult with your dispatcher and arrange for a suitable location to perform a set and release on your brakes.
NS Train 179, with an NS and UP Ace duo on the head end, rolls westbound through London after a meet with an eastbound. The Aces, getting started uphill with a heavy train, is BNSF 7158 serves as mid-train DPU for 179. The person standing in front of Casey's you saw a second ago is Rex Woods, a friend of ours and a friend to the channel. On another day, we see NS Train 171 heading westbound through London at CP 162. With a nice surprise trailing second, a former CEFX number 1041. NS had bought at least 36 of these AC 4400 CWs. This guy apparently was not the patient type and took a huge risk. He may have gotten lucky that time, but he might not be so lucky if he tries it again. Seeing these old classic 2000s locomotives still running and in service and being brought back for more use is pretty cool, even if they don't have PTC or cab signal. On another day, 170 heads eastbound through London. That building in the background in the middle is the old NYC Freight Depot. 170 has a pretty cool EMD consist of an ACC, a thoroughbred GP60, and an SD70 Ace. On another night, back in London, Ohio, NS Train 239 is observed flying westbound across Main Street in London. (116) heads westbound closely behind 239. After the filming of this 116, him and his counterpart 117 were switched to run between Bellevue and Portsmouth, Ohio along the Sandusky and Columbus districts, thus making the last 116 on the Dayton District this one. On another day, we are treated to a beautiful morning sunrise along the Dayton District. At CP 160, NS Train 170 heads east with a single GE rebuild on the head end and another GE rebuild mid-train. On the same day, NS Train 179 is seen flying by Spring Valley Road at CP 160 with a nice, healthy train. On a calm and cool evening at milepost 160 again, the east end of the London siding, we observe NS Train 170 with a mix of EMD and GE power on the head end as well as a mid-train DPU. On a cold night at milepost 184 in Springfield, a loaded grain train is witnessed going west, led by NS 1832. 1832 is of interest because the front nose is all black. That is because sometime prior to this filming, this locomotive had struck a semi-truck somewhere. On another cold night, we observe NS Train 170 heading eastbound through London with a mixed bag of GE. .179 gets started up westbound out of London with some very good power and what other rail fans usually call trail fails, with KC and CP power second and mid-train. On another day, we find ourselves at the Davis Road crossing, milepost 167. This was an old town called Myers. It did used to have some kind of grain elevator and could hold up to 80 cars at once. But the town is no more, just a couple houses. Here, on this late evening, we observe NS Train 179 climbing up the hill out of London heading westbound. And unusually today, with no mid-train or rear DPU, just a couple GEs. NS eastbound train 178 is observed heading through Springfield under the night sky, with two BNSF GEVOs leading the way. Later that same night, a second 178 follows the other one, this time at milepost 185 on Springfield's west end, with more foreign power. At milepost 184 on another night, we are joined by friend Tyler Dixon, who goes by Pennsylvania Central Depot on YouTube at milepost 184 for 239 heading westbound. 239 had a special treat on this night as he had a Canadian Pacific GEVO trailing second.
And check on that.
NS westbound train 171 flies through London on a cold evening with an interesting lash-up of a white-faced Dash 9, a BNSF GEVO, and a GP38-2, which if you listen closely enough, you can hear it whining. At milepost 147 in Hilliard, home of the new 147 Dayton District Cam, an NS grain train slowly rolls by, prepared to go into London to stop. This new location provided on YouTube gives a live camera so you can check when westbounds and eastbounds are going by, and will give rail fans time to the west to get set up for any westbounds that might be of interest. want, you can find the Dayton District 147 webcam on the YouTube channel The Traveling Gandy Dancer. On another night in London at Casey's Carryout, we witnessed a very special 170 with 2 NS Heritage units. It was a real treat, the NS 1069 Virginian leading and the NS 1068 Erie fourth out. Even though they weren't hooked together, it was still really cool to see. Some wheel and mechanical problems west of London delayed this guy about 3 hours, and he ended up having to go tie down in London, which didn't really make any of the Columbus rail fans too happy. In a cold but gorgeous sunset setting, NS Train 170 heads eastbound under the Conrail Tri-Lights in London, Ohio, with an SD70 Ace, a Whiteface Dash 9, and a Thoroughbred Dash 9. On another day at milepost 160, NS Train 170 is seen heading eastbound with a beautiful Thoroughbred Dash 9 leader. On a cold and dark windy night, NS Train 178 is seen heading eastbound through Plattsburgh, Ohio, milepost 172, with some BNSF leaders. NS train 171 heads westbound under this 162 tri-lights in London with a clean leader and an interesting second unit, CEFX number 1051. NS had bought 36 of these, like I said in another video, and some of them they had not gotten around to patching with NS numbers. A couple hours behind the 171 is westbound Herzog train number 93Z. This guy is going somewhere south of Cincinnati with a -9 liter and a UP Gevo, and also gave us a pretty cool horn show as he passed. In the golden light hour of the evening, 2 BNSFs and an NS Ace power the head end of 179 westbound uphill out of London. The golden sunlight evening also makes a good reflection on the orange locomotives. NS ES44 DC Gevo shoves hard on the rear of 179. On another cold and rainy night, NS train 179 struggles and screams to get uphill out of London. He's having a hard time gripping the rail because the rails have gotten too wet, so he's giving it everything he has to get out of London. another cold and slightly rainy evening, an eastbound is given the medium approach signal to enter the siding and wait for a westbound to pass. That eastbound in question is 170, daily Chattanooga, Tennessee to Conway, Pennsylvania manifest. After his counterpart 170 cleared, an SD70 ACC leads NS train 171 out of London and on his way towards Cincinnati. A little rarity on this day, NS train 239, who's running about 12 hours later than he usually would, is seen galloping through London, Ohio, heading westbound to Sharonville. Of interest is the UP AC 6000 CW trailing second. .179 is westbound through London on a cold and cloudy day. A good-sized train, he had been sitting at 150 for about 4 hours waiting for another crew. This one just kind of surprised us. On another cloudy Sunday in London, Ohio, we see NS train 179 speeding along under the Conrail signal bridge, heading west towards Cincinnati. This 179 is special for a couple reasons. The fact that he's 242 cars is one thing, and the fact that what's mid-train is as well. Midpoint in the train is CSX 101 and AC 44CW and NS 8102, the Pennsylvania Heritage Unit. On a wet and rainy day, we observe NS train 171 heading westbound at Spring Valley Road, CP 160 on the Dayton District, led by a Horsehead Dash 9. These Dash 9s are fading because they're being turned into C6Ms, so better get them while you can. .170 heads eastbound past Casey's drive-thru in London on a late night. This guy had the Solo GE rebuild up front and an NS EMD Ace number 1030 mid-train. About 3 hours after that 170, a second 170 comes rolling into London past Casey's. This one was interesting as it had an SD70 ACU second and Norfolk Southern's GO Rail unit number 6963 third out. He's broken down and going to Altoona for repairs. On another night at Casey's in London, we witnessed 170 flying eastbound through town with a unique sight of two CEFX Bluebirds lashed together third and fourth. Those are patched NS units now, numbers 3982 and 3981. They were ex-CEFX 1011 and 1014. And that Dash 9 thoroughbred leader was also a nice sight too. If it weren't for the C6M in between the three of them, it would have been a mid-2000s classic. We end our video here at milepost 155 just outside of West Jefferson. An early morning sunrise with NS train 178 heading eastbound into Columbus. This is another 2000s classic lash-up of a DC Gevo and two thoroughbred Dash 9s. This train, for some reason, did not have a DPU. The early morning light made for a nice picturesque backdrop with this train.